Welcome, beautiful humans, to another episode of the Art of Slowing Down podcast. It's Analena here, your host. And today I'm extra delighted because I have a dear colleague and friend of mine here with me. His name is Georges Cordoba. And before I introduce you, I just want to give you a really warm welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Analena. Thank you.
Yeah. So Georges and I, we met many, many years ago. I want to say 6 years ago, maybe even 7 years
Uh,
ago with the...
no. It was 2018.
So it's 5 years, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we both went through the Health Coach Institute certifications. We met in person several times when you were still living in Miami. We also did a couple of events together, right? So that was also a lot of
Mhm.
fun. And now I'm just going to read your bio and then we'll
Okay.
take it away. So Georges is a stage 4 melanoma and metastasis in the brain cancer survivor. So he's a miracle. He's here with us. And he fought the disease for 10 years and had 10 surgeries. And pharmaceuticals nearly destroyed his body. So he took the natural holistic route to heal himself. And like I said, here he is. And this July 12th, this year was his 11th year free of cancer. That's just when I take a pause and deep sense of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
And
It's a blessing. Yes.
yes. So, and of course, this experience has radically changed his life, as you all can imagine. And it became his mission and passion to share his story and inspire and help others to do the same. And in 2017, Georges shifted careers from being a CTO to a holistic transformational health coach. So you work in IT, right?
Mhm.
And now also functional nutritionist, professional speaker, Reiki teacher, and also he's a best-selling author for the book Beating the Odds about the holistic journey to conquer advanced cancer. So it's all about his story. And here's a quote from him: "I see my advanced cancer experience as a blessing because surviving it gave me a chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people transform their health and vitality." And right now, he's also completing the Rapid Transformation Therapist Diploma that is offered by Marissa Peer, right, to also further add value to his clients. So always adding something else on it. Yeah. So I'm so happy you're here, George, because we have known each other. You're such a beautiful human. I love you dearly. I call you friend. And
Likewise.
we finally, because you know why? So you send weekly, on Sundays, you send a very beautiful email newsletter out. And I think at some point you asked me if I would like to be on there. And I said, yes.
Mhm.
And first you write it in English and in Spanish as well, right? For your Spanish speaking
Mhm.
audience. And it's such a beautiful nugget of wisdom that I so appreciate. Just like the one from yesterday, I
Yes.
did reply to. It was about a book that I have on my shelf. And I was like, I really
Right.
need to pick this up.
Yes.
So yeah. And I think one of the emails you sent a couple of months ago, I had this intuitive, like, need to reach out to him. We need to reconnect. So we did, right? And then we talked about all things that we wanted to catch up on. And I learned you moved to a different state now, but also that, you're on into speaking. So that's why I was like, of course, come on my podcast and let's share your story with everybody.
Nice. No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
I'm honored, really. Yes. And I love to see you progressing in your career, doing what you love to do. So that's what it's all about. It
It
becomes,
is.
it's something that you do. It's not work. It's just amazing when you are really connected to what your talents and what you like to do. So
Yes.
that is awesome too. Congrats.
Thank you. Likewise. I think we're both on that path, right? And I think,
Mm.
yeah, that's when we met at the Health Coach Institute. We were still like fresh there, but we knew we have a different calling than just working in corporate.
Mhm.
And here we are. So I'm proud of us too.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I know I already shared your story a little bit, but I would love to hear from you, whatever part of your story you would love to share with the audience. And also maybe let's keep in mind this idea of slowing down, right? That's what the podcast is mainly about. That,
Mhm.
if you just keep rushing and chasing the success, so to call it chase the money or whatever outside goals we have, somehow life puts a stop. So what do you think, were you doing wrong in life that this had to happen and that life needed to wake you up in some way?
Mhm. Well, first of all, before I share a little more of my story, a little more details, I tell my clients, and a lot of this stuff I do it from my own experience. I explain it in the book, but one cannot heal from a stressed point of view. Healing only happens where you are relaxed, when you slow down. There's just not even a case to talk about it if you're in a hurry and trying to
Mm.
heal, which is what happens in a way. People are very, this rat race is ever faster and faster and faster, and people don't give the time to themselves to relax. I call it nourishing yourself. I spend 2.5 hours every morning, from 3.5 hours, from 5 to 8:30 every morning. I journal and meditate. I pray a little bit, then I go and work out, either run, I go to the gym. But that's what I call self nourishment. But I teach
Mhm.
my clients, and that's what I do. I work with people with cancer. I help them transform their health and vitality. And part of the stuff, what I do is letting them know that they're not just a body or just an organ. I had cancer in my liver,
Mm.
or no, we're a whole being that has four bodies. I call it four legs of the table: the physical leg, the emotional leg, the mental leg, and the spiritual leg, our soul. And so I work all those four legs to make them tight. In many cases, people are missing a leg in that table, and the table can't stand there. They're in pretty bad
Mm.
shape. So, but in any case, yeah, I'm from Caracas, Venezuela. My parents came from Greece and Spain after World War II, and my sister and I were born in Caracas, and so we're Venezuelan, and our first language is Spanish, which turned out to be a great thing, because I can help people in both languages. And in any case, I really excelled in tennis and music and piano, but I got a scholarship to come to the States in 1980, and that was it. I've been in the States since then, and through the years, just like you mentioned, I was just a Ferrari every morning, getting up. I'm going to be, an amazing executive. I'm going to do my MBA. I'm going to coach my kids in the afternoon, soccer and tennis and all this stuff. And I was acting like Superman. And it got to a point that I got sick. I spent a lot of time through the years in the sun, because I surfed, I played tennis, I scuba dived. I mean, I did everything in the sun. My parents tell me that I learned how to swim before I learned how to walk.
Wow.
Yeah. So through the years, I got, basically at one point I got sick. But I have to say that I always feared cancer, because since I was 4, and I remember vividly, I lost my maternal grandfather from cancer.
Mm.
And then through the years, 2 uncles, 2 aunts, my godfather, who was cousin of my mother, all in the Greek side, which
Mhm.
was interesting when I look back. But so I really thought it was a genetic thing. So I feared it. I thought, man, it's gonna catch me someday. And it did.
Mhm.
I was 42 years old at the time, and I was diagnosed 3 weeks after my mother passed, of lung cancer.
Oh boy.
So yeah, and so then all this stuff started happening to me in my mind. It was a roller coaster of emotions. I couldn't believe it. 5 kids, a good person, always helping in missions and stuff. I mean, we had it all, great careers, my wife and I, and all of a sudden, boom, I was diagnosed, and things really changed right away. It ended up being because of the first 7 years, I did what everybody does: just go to an oncologist, which I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I wish I knew better and I could have saved some years and some money. That didn't heal me. I had to decide on year 7 that year 7, I already had 7 surgeries. I fought the disease for 10 years, from 2002 to 2012. I had 10 surgeries. A couple of them, 4 of them were in my brain because the melanoma metastasized in my brain. I had 8 tumors, and they were able to extract with surgery, craniotomies 4 times. I received gamma knives, and after all of that, there were 2 they could not operate, and they were growing little by little. They disappeared. If you ever have a chance to read my book, or your audience, I recommend it, 'cause I don't want to do too much. It's tell you the whole book. But I realized through the years, then as a coach, at the age of 57, about 5 years after I went into what doctors say radical remission, they couldn't understand, especially because they knew that I stopped 5 years earlier. I stopped chemo and radio. My oncologist was very nice, right there at the University of Miami, Sylvester Cancer Center. And he asked me if I was sure that I wanted to stop all that. And I said yeah, I'm sure. It's been 7.5 years. And this stuff has not done anything for me but surgeries and remissions and reoccurrences and all this. And I'm sure that if I go natural, I'm going to explore other alternatives.
Mhm.
And he says, okay. But I asked him, and many oncologists would tell me, or I know of clients that say the oncologist would say, no, if you don't want to do that, I don't, that's it. That's the end of our work. But Dr. Fun, and I say that because I love this guy, he said, okay, because I told him that I wanted to continue to be doing follow-ups with him,
Yeah.
blood tests and stuff like that. And he agreed. And so actually, years later, he was doing like every 6 months. And then he was seeing that I was doing better, and he couldn't believe it. No chemo, no radio, none of that. And so every time I saw him, he said, man, keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to ask you, but keep doing. And you see what happens. These guys, they want to help you. They're not our healers. We think that sometimes, many people.
Mhm.
But what happens is that they only studied certain things, which is really, the chemotherapy, which for many doctors, and they tell them, watch out, because chemo is a loaded gun. You do that wrong, and, you're poisoning the person. Maybe they needed something else or whatever. It's a science, trial and error. In this case, they're trying and making errors on us. That's a reality,
Mhm.
But the mind, this is the point. The mind, though, the mind goes to what's familiar. And for us, we've been trained, and the mind learns by repetition. We've been trained that when we get cancer, we go straight to an oncologist.
Mm.
2 things happening there. And I'll be talking in Toronto this next week about this. I have a keynote talk. It's called "You Can Move Your Mountains." But the thing is that we learn to do that. Even myself, I just went there, and what they say for me was amen. That's a mistake. There's 2 things that happen. Number one, you're giving all your power, the power that we have within, this energetic power. Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven is within. Buddha said something very similar. It's our subconscious mind. That stuff that you and I are doing now, we're breathing without, because
Mhm.
that little wise thing inside of us is working all the time. And that's where the healing happens. I had no coach, but I did have this leap of faith that I said, this is not working for me. Maybe my software engineering logical mind said, this is not working. It's like you do in software, you're trying things, it's not working. So that's a little bit of what happens. I went at it 10 years. After I went natural, I had 2 more surgeries. Melanoma is very aggressive, but it ended up, going away. What I found out, and this is something for the audience to know. Again, it's slowing down. I remember somebody brought a friend of mine. I call them angels. I mean, I had help from people I had could never imagine that they will come and help us out, even financially. But I remember this lady that came in. A friend of mine sent her. It was a yoga teacher, and she also was doing some energy work, or the bowls, Tibetan bowls and stuff. And for the whole family, she came. It was a Saturday. We were all there, and that was the first time. And I'm very. It is no coincidence that you mentioned it, but she said the same thing. You said, George, I see you. You still. It's normal because you have all this emotional stuff right now, wondering what's going to happen with the kids, what's your career, your wife. 5 kids. We have four men and a woman. They're now in their 30s, except Claudia. Claudia's going to be 29 December this year. So, but the bottom line is that she said, you'll be okay, but you have to slow down. Slow down. On top of everything, the stress that is created for you to have to go do your chemo, come back feeling bad, taking the meds, biopsies, go back. That's very stressful. It's another component in your life that you weren't expecting. Now you have to manage that on top of your family and your career. So it's not an easy thing, but as we were talking earlier before we started the recording, miracles happen. And I found that formula on my own when I was, I talk about that in the book, but it's these 4 things that I mentioned, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, are very well described in 4 chapters, 4 of the chapters in my book. And then the other one is, and these are all universal laws. They've been taught to us by all the avatars. For me, my master is Jesus, as a Christian Catholic, but I read a lot about all the gurus in India, some stuff from Buddha, and they all have the same
message, right?
Message, and it's also the same source. We just have different philosophies. We were born in different cultures, but it's the same thing. As a matter of fact, part of the miracle of a miracle happens when you learn to receive. People do not know how to receive. It's easier to give, but the channel for miracles to happen. Let's say I go to you, Analena. You have, and I say, Analena, I want to give you this from my heart. I mean, I have no hidden agenda. When that is pure, it's called agape love. I want to give you this. And many people say, oh, no, thank you. Don't bother. No. Let me pay you. Even when you try to pay and buy somebody for lunch or dinner, when you learn to receive and you open your heart to the giver, or vice versa, because sometimes you're the giver, sometimes you will have to be the receiver. I learned that prayers or things that you do in meditation, they don't happen because somewhere inside of us, we don't believe that we are worth receiving. Once you understand that it's from the inside out and you can open that door to receive, that's where God or the source makes the miracles happen, because the channels are open. If the receiver is closed, if the giver is not even, oh, I'm going to do it because I don't know, whatever. No, it has to be something that is completely honest. And I lived that. Every time somebody would ring the bell, I was in like fetal position in my room, going through the chemo effects for me were like having these great, amazing shakes, uncontrollable. But I would hear the door ring, and then somebody would ask my wife, "How you doing? The kids, how is George?" look, we brought you this lentil soup, we brought you this bread. It was like people that, employees, okay, but I just assimilated that. Every time somebody would do that for me, it was a prayer for my healing,
Mhm.
because that's when you showing. And remember, I told you, and serving to others. That's the other part of the equation, is that a lot of people, some of my clients, man, I have it all. You would have told me that you charged me 15,000 for this, I would have paid it. And now I'm sick, but something is missing in my life. I don't know.
Mhm.
I have a yacht. I have two Teslas. I have this and that, and I don't feel happy.
Mm.
You know what they're missing? What they're missing is that component that we are born with, which is to hand a hand to others. Again, without any agenda.
Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah.
embarrassed yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot of stuff through this. My my decision was really pure faith in that point, because I understood the faith formula. It's another formula, and it's been set by the avatars. In the New Testament, one of the apostles, James, in Spanish, Santiago, he said, "Do not deceive yourselves. Show me your faith with your actions, because faith without actions is dead."
Mhm.
And if you think about that, how heavy and philosophical that is. In other words, if you try it, if you go, next time you go, let's say downtown Miami or Fort Lauderdale, you see somebody that is asking for money or whatever, look at them. Look at them. And in many cases, the last one was in Miami for me here. I haven't had that. I don't know. I had the chance 3 weeks ago, but 2 weeks ago. It's a matter of seeing someone that comes for help. And the first thing we do is we judge. We judge, or we feel uncomfortable and we go to the
Mhm.
other side of the sidewalk, on the other side of the street. No, just look, that guy is a human being. He might be, you know, messed up with drugs, whatever. And, one of the things that I do when I have the chance and when that comes, I mean, if it comes, I don't let it go away. I just say, look, are you hungry? Yeah, yes, sir. Okay, look, come on, let's go to the store there. The first one we find, and I invite them. If it's breakfast. If it's not lunch, they feel so embarrassed to even go in there, go
Mhm.
into the joint. And you have to see the faces of the ones that are inside. And I always have to say, no, he's with me or she's with me.
Mm.
And so then they relax. And so giving and receiving was something that I also um, experimented with, not because I was experimenting, but I had the chance to help in Miami to spirit up a program by the American Cancer Society. And this program was, the title was Road to Recovery. And so I was in remission at that time. So then as I was helping, I had a recurrence. And so anyway, it was all about creating a database of volunteers and and matching them to patients that live in their area. I guarantee you, Analena, there's at least half a dozen or more people that need to be taken by a family member, or this public transportation things for patients to go get their radiation, their chemo and stuff.
Mhm.
And sometimes life goes on and they don't have a ride. So the American Cancer Society came up with this program. And so I was doing this Relay for Life. I put my company there with my employees, kind of donating. It was doing laps at FIU in the track field. Every lap, it was $1 or whatever,
Yeah.
or whatever you say. I'm going to do $100 per lap, whatever. But so they asked all the ones that were quote unquote survivors to come up and do a lap. And I heard about this program, and I asked, and they said, well, yeah, it exists, but it hasn't really taken off in Miami, and Fort Lauderdale. And I said, why? Well, we don't know. So I said, look, um, can I go? And you tell me, let me see, I like to help. And so they gave me the number, the card of the lady that was an employee of them, but that was in charge of this program in Dade County and Broward. And it started. And weeks after that, we had a recurrence, but I kept going. And the first year we were able, I recruited friends and family and colleagues and to become volunteers. They have to go through a training. You can't give, for example, medical advice or anything like that, common sense stuff. But the advantage that I had is that I was going through it. And so we drove, I recruited 50 people in the first year, and we did over 1,700 rides for people in
Wow.
Miami and Dade. Well, the way you felt every single time you took somebody, I have one testimonial in my book. It's amazing what happened there. But every single time that you do something for someone, in this case, he was driving them for their therapies, and if you couldn't wait, another volunteer will come and pick her up and take her home, or him. It was like that. We had kids in there as well, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds. But the bottom line, and one of the guys in this group, a very good friend of mine, real quick, I'll tell you, he at that time he was making, I don't know, maybe $250,000 a month in the aviation business. He had contracts for maintenance, even with Lufthansa, many airlines, but he was not happy when he started doing that. I mean, he was like hooked.
Really?
Oh yeah, because you feel the void that is in there. I read this guy, and we can keep going. You can ask me some questions. I read about this guy. There's a saying that's he who looks will find. And I was just looking. As a tennis player and competitor, I said, well, this is my biggest opponent. In my talk now, I said that's the biggest mountain I had to move, because faith moved mountains. But in any case, the thing again is it's all about really having to look around and to put your faith into action, like James said. So I said, oh, I know faith. I mean, faith is a certainty of what you want, because you know that if you take action, you're going to be helped by something that is bigger than you. It doesn't fail. But then you have to learn about this of giving and receiving. And very, very important for me, really, when I see now, almost 6 years into holistic transformation coaching, and I started to do some hypnotherapy, is that disease will continue to come back until you do two things. You cleanse your body, but then it doesn't matter what you eat. You could be the number one plant-based or keto or whatever. It doesn't matter what you eat. As a nutritionist, I tell you, and I actually specialize on the digestive system, is who you are when you're eating. Are you stressed out? Are you eating in 10 minutes? Do you chew enough? The average American chews 6 times and swallows. So it doesn't give a chance for the food to process in your mouth, because digestion starts here in your mouth. The saliva enzymes process the food so you can send it to the stomach the right way. But 99 out of 100 times, we send to the stomach something that is not processed. And that's where these issues start. That's where you hear the disease starts in the gut, because the stomach cannot do the right process. We don't do this kind of stuff to our cars. We give them the best, oil and gas. And so this is kind of like the same thing. But the other one that really for me was like taking a whole piano weight from my shoulder was forgiveness. All the area of forgiving, being forgiven, forgive others, and forgive yourself.
Yeah.
When I started to work on that is when I really cleaned the emotional clutter, the mental clutter that I had, because I was an athlete. I was eating perfect. but I was eating maybe my super healthy food in 8 minutes because I had so many things to do. That doesn't work. Yeah. So, but
Yeah, wow. So many powerful reminders, even like for myself. Right. And when I went through the health coach certification, the one that we did,
Mhm.
that is the most valuable thing that I took away from that. And I was working actually later on as a health coach for many years. And there was always like, okay, who are you being when you eat? And the
Mhm.
activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, and
Yes.
that we mainly eat when we're stressed. That is such a good point. And I absolutely love how you bring up this concept of receiving, right? Because it's literally, it has also been a really big topic in my life. And but just when somebody tells you like, oh my gosh, you look amazing today, or you have such a beautiful sweater, be like, oh yeah, I got it at Target for $12. Like we kind of deflect right away, right? Instead of just like, thank you,
Yes. Yes.
and I have to also say, so when you were talking, I really believe that when we can give unconditionally, that is really the source of happiness. Because I have, for example, in the apartment complex I live, right across my hallway, there is a lady, she's 92
Mhm.
or 93 years old, just like my grandma in Germany. So she really reminds me of her. She's amazing. And when I see her, I always take the time to talk to her, or sometimes because she has a walker right now and she takes out the trash. And anytime I catch her, I was like, let me take it. And she's very thankful. Or when she has a package in front of her door, like, because there have been times where I'm like, I don't need to do it. But I was like, no, let me do this. I knock on her door and I'm like, here's a package so she doesn't have to bend down, right? And sometimes it's heavy. And I have to say, she is so receiving. She's so thankful of it. Like she totally like she's not like, oh no, let me go walk the
Yeah.
extra mile. She also think it's because she's so old, and vibrant. And
Yeah.
the sense of happiness that I feel when I
Exactly.
just because I wanna help her, and it just,
Yeah.
without, like you said, like without expecting anything in return, and this kind of like, because we're too much in the causal effect kind of thinking, right? I do this to get something.
Yeah.
No, I'm just doing it because, and that's it, nothing else, right? That is
Mhm.
so,
Ah,
that is so powerful.
it is our programming, and so first thing I did when I decided to go um, natural, you'll get the book, but one of the things, the first thing I did before I just said okay, is I went to visit this another angel appear in my life. It's just uh, my best friend and brother. Basically, he's German descendant, Venezuelan German,
German.
and his wife was into holistic stuff, and since she was 17, and so she said, "Look, I hear that you're gonna stop. Go see this guy, Dr. Tansky in Palm Beach." And I went to see him. He was a naturopath, and he explained to me, and I use this. I even wrote an ebook about it. Other than the book, I'm working on another book is about the power of forgiveness. Um, and but anyway, I went to see him, and I just wanted to detox 7 years, almost 8 years of chemo and radiotherapy that I had
Mhm.
put on me, all this venom. Even though I was, having always as an athlete, kind of knew how to eat and stuff. But he explained me in a glance how important it is to have a balanced pH in our system.
Mhm.
And I mean, that was like, music to my ears. It really gave me the last push to say, yeah, this is what I'm praying to do. This is it. That was the last thing I needed to hear. Disease, listen to this, disease cannot happen in a balanced pH body. And the disease is already there, and you learn how to balance your pH, which is many components. Disease starts going away because you are taking away the environment that they strive to live in and grow.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the other thing that is worth knowing, I was I was also in another summit last. This was in April, in March of this year, and we always finish. It's the same event planner that goes around the nation and does that. She's from Canada, but anyway, we always do a round table. The speakers, we just sit there and people ask us whether it's online or they're there in the crowd. And one of the questions was on pH, and he's a holistic doctor, used to be an oncologist. Now well, he healed himself holistically when he realized that 4 years into the chemo and stuff that he knew it wasn't working. That's a great testimony because they find out. I mean, it makes sense. So, but this is what he said: unless you get sick or you have an accident or for example, I don't know, break a leg in a motorcycle, whatever, you have an appendicitis issue. I mean, surgeons, great. And the technology, I mean, I was working my brain several times. I was supposed to get strokes and whatever. It didn't happen. But he say, look, unless it's something like that, every chronic disease that you can think of starts in a body that is inflamed.
Yeah.
You could be walking around, and we may be inflamed. Because again, it doesn't matter how great you're eating. It's not only the physical body. The disease manifests in the physical body, but usually it's emotional, is stress, is some sort of a clutter that you have from years related to forgiving somebody and guess what? We don't have to be stressed to produce cortisol. Cortisol is produced when you have a memory of that, you heard a song or whatever, and I don't know, you're producing cortisol all the time instead of producing dopamine, which is what, scientifically speaking, what you told me before and then during now this podcast, yeah, you got to slow down. There's no other way. You slow down your parasympathetic system and start bringing dopamine, serotonin, and it's almost like a relax and have a good digestion, relax and heal. Healing happens from the inside out. It just happens from the source that many of them said it was the kingdom of heaven. We have the power. And since we're little, our teachers, our pastors, and parents even, and then we do it again as parents, we start taking all that intuition and that we have that power within, and you're dreaming of something. Oh, come on, no, you do have some messages from in there, but we learn to give that power to somebody else, including now, because now is one of the rules of the mind. Everybody goes to somebody that has a white coat and chemo, and drugs. And guess what? By the way, and I'm not, before I was afraid, but I'm not claiming anything here, but it is a truth that these doctors have different types of chemos for different cancers, but they have offers from the pharmaceuticals with bonuses and stuff, and wholesale price, and they resell it to a bigger price to the insurance company. It's ugly what you see there.
I guess you have seen a lot, huh?
Oh, no, and it just happens. I have a fellow survivor that gave me a questionnaire. He actually stood up. He's an oncologist. He had colon cancer. They removed the cancer, and he was going to start it. He never went. He said, no, because he found out. And it says, so now I have it. But people are afraid to ask the doctor these questions. It's a questionnaire. Doctor, is it true? Can you tell me of somebody that is living 5 years with the chemo that you're going to give me? It's already in remission 5 years. How about 10 years? Is it true, doctor, that you get what you're getting me? You got it for a price and you sell it to the insurance company for a profit? Is it true? Are you going to ask that to your doctor? But your doctor is your employee. You go recommended by somebody. You have all the freedom to find the one that you feel the most comfortable with. He is trying to help you, and you're paying him $bucks to help you. And most of the time, what they do when they see that they can't help you, they have no other way to go. They say, well, go home and, we'll give you some drugs so you don't have pain and go die. They don't say it that way, but in a way, go home, get palliative care and do that. They're not nutritionists. They're not Reiki practitioners. They're not Analena. They don't know that. All they know is that. So I would ask him, look, I'm down to 132 pounds. I'm supposed to be 165. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Drink this stuff so you can gain weight. And it was something that had like 25 uh, grams of sugar.
Oh
Just drink
boy.
like a shake. That
Mhm.
was actually, feeding my cancer cells, So
Mm.
anyway, yeah,
Yeah, it's ugh. And I think, I mean, money in any kind of industry, right?
yeah,
Often it leads to greed in any kind of situations, and that's never good. But and like you say, doctors are saving lives every single day. I mean, my daughter, she had open heart surgery. I myself had appendicitis 2.5 years ago. It saved my life. I wouldn't be
yeah,
here,
exactly.
and also certain medication cells save people's lives, right? It's just that's why, like, I always feel like we have to come together,
Yes,
and also, like, because there's a place for this, there's a place for that, and then ultimately, I mean, we are in charge. Like you trusted your intuition, right? And you did the recommended path for many, many years, right? And you learned for yourself it doesn't work, and then your intuition was like, I gotta do a different way, and you
um,
did, and that may be different for some other people, right? But people have to, because I think what can happen easily is that our fears take over, and we just do it because we're so fearful, and then we also unconsciously start to believe, right? Because if I believe that I need chemo, I don't know, but I think the subconscious is also probably
yeah,
plays very big into that. And because
abs-
I know I can get very impacted by fears myself, especially when I was younger. Um, Now I have much more awareness that there's a lot of, fear marketing.
yeah,
I mean, even in the regular coaching, with
yeah,
making money is mostly based on inducing fears with people so
yes,
that they spend more money on stuff, right? So
absolutely.
yeah, but yeah, I love your story, and also to if you speak up about it, so I think it's so important for people to be just educated. These are the
Right.
options, be informed. Maybe it's a combination of both the traditional and the holistic. Like there is no like one way to do certain things, right? But that you help people to empower themselves. So I really admire, and I also, one thing I wanted to share that I really love, because my daughter actually the other day, she asked me, are you not Catholic but a Christian? And I said, well, I actually was never baptized. That's the truth. I was never baptized
Mhm.
in Germany growing up. And I always had this idea that every religion, like you were saying, like Buddhism, there's Catholic, there's, in India, all the Zen masters, there's so many things. And for me, it's just like, well, they're all saying the same thing, or just call it differently, give it different names. But if it's all going to the essence of the universal laws, then we don't have to fight about anything. There's no one way is better or anything. So I,
No,
I
exactly.
so resonate. And today I'm a very spiritual, like I'm very spiritually connected person. And I have found that for myself, more in, me, right? I love now human design and the gene keys, because it goes back to the Chinese I Ching, which is ancient wisdom. And I always tell people, like, this is how the universe works. It just explains this. And
Hmm.
and everything has
Yeah,
started to make sense. And the laws of giving and receiving, it's all in those archetypal energies. And I just love, because I have a very hard time when people go this, like, there's only this one way.
oh, no, no,
I
yeah,
just I cannot, and I love you. I can send you love, but I have to
yes,
lovingly say that we may be on different paths and we may
yes.
disagree on
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah, and that's again part of how we are brought up, and there's some plenty of great books, even written by shamans, a shaman in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico, and the four agreements, and
Oh, I love that book.
yeah, and it's what you said is really, you could be religious and not spiritual, or you could be
Mm-hmm.
spiritual and not religious.
Yeah.
Religious is a philosophy but when you look at each of the, let's say, I call them avatars of this, saints, Buddha, Babaji, Krishna, Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Muhammad, and Abraham, and for the Jewish, um, they all had this connection, this amazing connection with the source. In other words, even people would thought, man, this guy has been sent by these people because they came here to teach love and service. So if you forget all the other clutter, and all these rules, that's why Martin Luther in Germany said, "No, well, the Roman Catholics are destroying." We're not going to talk about that, but it's all about power. It's all about this and that. At the end of the day, it's about the teachings of these guys, putting them into action. And the
Mm-hmm.
best way to do that, the best way is being thankful, opening your eyes and saying, wow, I'm alive. Because we cannot guarantee that we're going
Yeah.
to open tomorrow. We have
Mm-hmm.
today. But if I ask you, are you sure you're going to wake up
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow? We can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Uh, so being thankful for the beautiful mountain that you have in front, or the beach, or a nice park, your daughter, a flower, everything that has been giving it to us, and we don't even realize. We walk about
Mm-hmm.
amongst many, many blessings and miracles, and we don't see them because we're in a hurry, because, like you said, we don't slow down.
Yeah.
And the best way to connect to this source, is when you are in a relaxed mode. There's no way you can do it in the car, in traffic, or you can breathe. Your breathing is a great component. Anywhere in the day, you breathe a couple of times and you get out of your issues, your present issue. But the rest is give yourself some nourished time. Love yourself. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
give love to everybody, everybody else, unless you love yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Our Reiki master, my wives and I, told us, practice Reiki on yourselves and with each other, and before you go and help
Mm-hmm.
others. And she goes, you know why? Because out there's too many wounded healers in the world. Too many wounded healers in the world. Imagine
Mm-hmm.
somebody that, man, is so happy within, and let's say with your energies. You explain me a little more of what you're doing, but imagine, like, there's no clutter, your capacity to give from
Mm-hmm.
the heart. And no, it's not here, it's right here. And
Yeah.
healing
Yeah.
either is right
Yeah.
here and inside. I like to share something with the people that might listen to this. One of the apostles for Jesus, the one that lived the longest and took care of Mary, John, he was hiding for a long time, and that's where he wrote the book. He wrote all his revelations that he was getting. He was alone, meditating, fasting. Things can happen. You and I can actually do the same, probably, if we go
Mm-hmm.
to those depths. He one of his things says, look, I'm knocking on the door. If you listen and open the door, then I will come in and I will dine with you. The door has to be open. Our hearts have to be open from the inside out. It doesn't have a doorknob on the outside. We
Mm-hmm.
have to decide to open up, to receive and give. And I guarantee you, I'm not, I tell you by my own experience and what's happening is with some of my clients. When you are really in a position that you can accept love from others, no matter who it is, that type of love, like, okay, yes, like you said, with the sweater, or anything, you say, oh yeah, thank you, but we try to avoid it right away. No, I when I see that in
Mm-hmm.
my kids, I say, hey, Tommy, allow yourself to be loved. Allow yourself
Mm-hmm.
to be loved.
I love
That's
the word. That's it. Allowing,
Mhm.
right? I almost like everything that I have learned. And thank you for this wisdom, because we're so like, how can I make X, Y, Z happen? And I always reframe it into like, how can you allow it? It's already there. You just need to.
To open up.
I mean, it's like, yeah. And so when I share this with you, so from this Chinese I Ching I was telling you about, right? And the Gene Keys in particular that I talk about it, there are two archetypal energies. One is the one and the two. And the two is the most feminine of all. And the one is the most like where we take action and the masculine and the creativity. And it says that we have to tap into the feminine first. We have to be in the allowing state first. And then from this place, we can give our whatever it is, right? But it's like what you say, we have to nourish ourselves first, right? It's like we have to nourish the soil so the flowers can bloom,
Yes.
right? The flower's not going to bloom if it's dead and we're not watering it and stuff like that. So,
Yes. And I invite your audience and yourself, do it 21 days. Try to make that be disciplined to go Saturday and Sunday also, 21 days, and practice giving yourself, let's say start with 15 minutes every morning, even get up earlier, 15, 20 minutes, or even the same time, but you are not going to compromise somebody else's agenda other than it's you, it's for you. The better you are, the better you get inside and start really feeling the spiritual sense. And at that moment, things start happening. But what I see, and I give recordings to my clients after we've been together 4 or 5 weeks. I give them like a customized visualization for their situation, for example. And I say, look, you can listen to it 3 times a day if you want, but definitely for 21 days, at least 1 day. What happens? The mind learns by repetition. Your ego starts understanding that fear is, because that's the ego, the fear that you mentioned, which is really the contrary of faith. If I'm fearful, which I'm going to have the book in audio in October. And so it's going to be easier because I found out last year, the book sold 3,500 copies.
Nice.
And I didn't, organically in English, and almost 1,600 in Spanish. But very, very few reviews, 3,000. And so I heard that, and it's true, who has time to read? So if you have an audio, you could be in the car and you just read my book go to work, come back, you're ready. And now you can leave a review. And on top of that, you hear my voice and then you say, wow, so audiobooks are really, that is the trend now. And so when it's done, you're on my distribution list. I'll let you guys know. And
I'm
gonna put it for like 5 days. Because actually the audiobooks are, if you look at it, are usually more expensive than the paperbacks. But I'll do it so people can get it. The ones that help me become a bestseller, read it now or listen to it now when you're jogging, when you whatever, so.
Yeah, I love it. I love audiobooks myself. That's amazing.
Good.
Awesome. I love that. So, Georges, are you okay that because I know you're not really into human design, right? I told you that my audience really loves it.
Yes, I'm interested.
And just from what you were sharing so far, there's just a couple of things in your human design that I want to kind of showcase. And because I feel like we're living our human design anyway. So human design is really all about trusting ourselves. That's the main thing. So we trust our inner essence. And so you are a 5/1 splenic projector. And one of the gifts that you have is that as a projector, like you're here to guide people, which you do, right? With your work, you're guiding people into their health journey that have overcome something like a big struggle in their life, right? And you even have one of your channels is called the channel of struggle. So it's all about being a fighter, overcoming adversity. It's about the fear of not living and also the fear of death. It's all in this energy. So, and then eventually we get this out. We share this energy with others, right? And I just feel like that's exactly what you're doing, right? Because you help people overcome that. And then so our sun your sun gate is gate 57. So that means at the time you were born, the sun was in this gate 57, which is one of these archetypal energies. And 57 is the gate of intuition. It's the most intuitive energy in the chart. So for you, everything in life is really, if you don't trust your intuition, life is not going well, right? So, and then you feel agitated when, we're not listening to it. And I feel that it brought you to that, right? In a way, your experience was like,
Yeah.
now you get this energy out into the world as a visionary leader and help people to connect to their own intuition so that they can receive the support and the guidance that's really for them. And the other thing, because I only want to pick out a couple of things, we have something called a core wound in our chart, that's the Mars. That's the unconscious part of us. Like 88 days before you're born, your Mars was in gate 2. And that gate 2 for you, it's about receiving. It's the most feminine energy in the chart. So that is what we would call, can be one of our biggest challenges in life. For you, that was to learn to receive. And that's everything you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's so beautiful how, like, just surrendering to what was happening and to your purpose, like, you don't need to know about your human design to know these things, but you just kind of embraced it yourself. And another thing is, like, you're here to talk, definitely. Like, so this is kind of like the chakras, right? We have in the Hindu chakra. So this is the third eye, we call it the Ajna center. This is the head center or crown chakra, so to say. And this is your throat chakra. And you have it all like colored in defined. That means you're here to put these energies out into the world. And when you're like all connected to your intuition, you have so much divine wisdom. And especially through storytelling. Like this channel here, 1156, is all about storytelling. So through telling your stories, which is what you do, right? I mean, your book is about your story, everything today. And that helps transform people's lives, right? So
this is amazing. I'm telling you. Like I said, Nima, we'll have to do like a call with you and let us know, other things. But when you say about the femininity, it's very interesting. I'm half Greek, but I have to say, all my life, and this is something that is very, to me, it causes curiosity. When I have my teams as a CTO, 90% of my employees were females. When I did my first communion, I was the only boy of 100 people. I did my 5 reflective practices. They choose them randomly. 6. Guess what? All 6 were ladies.
Interesting.
And my accountability partner that they gave me, also a female. And it is interesting because I feel very comfortable. I mean, without taking the testosterone and stuff, I don't know. It's almost like I trust. I kind of like realize, women are more detail oriented in computer science when you're doing, analysis for business systems and stuff. I mean, and testing, then the software. Oh, I could have been in trouble. I had my programmers were almost about half and half. And, but that's interesting because it keeps happening. And, I'm trying to do, I was thinking, well, I'm going to my niche, now that I'm going to market myself. It's been 6 years of referrals and it's been a blessing. But they were telling me, go down to the smallest dot on your niche. And so they recommended, well, fathers that are going through cancer that have children, which is really what happened to me. They were young. And so I started with that. And I keep signing. Right now, I finally have three males.
Mhm.
Uh, and two of them are 38 years old. One is older right now, and it just started 2 weeks ago. And but the rest, if you look at my 6 years, they come up to be maybe 7% of my clients. I don't know why. I have no idea, but that's what comes, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see that. It's just a thought, but it's interesting because, and then when I was a boy, obviously, just my friends, playing tennis
Mhm,
with
mhm,
friends
mhm.
and going to sleep with each other, but houses. But and as I was growing up, even I was at 10, 11 with the first communion, and I just looked around and said, "But where are the other boys? What's going on?"
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a sign from the universe in a way, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just there. And you have actually a lot of detail in your also in your chart, this gate 62, which is actually your unconscious sun that has a lot to do with your radiance, your own health and well-being. It's about detail. And
Wow.
so if it intuitively feels good to you, you could niche, and especially as a projector, you want to be very specific. Like
Hmm.
you solve this one problem. And what I have found too, like, yeah, you can, and for example, I advertise myself more to women, but I still accept men if they come or whatever gender, we have all
Hmm.
the different genders these days. So, um, maybe do that if it feels good to really like I think you can actually reach a much wider audience if you're being more specific, but you can still
Right.
serve men because they will reach out to you if they resonate with you,
Yeah.
and if you feel like it's a match. But to really call in and more impact the masses, it could be specifically for women. Maybe that's what Biz has been trying to tell you all these years.
Yeah, I think so. What I did is I actually say if you I have now I just launched a couple of weeks ago my online course,
Mm-hmm.
and there I said if you are a parent, and you're going to cancer, you're a parent with young children. So parent, it could be a mother or a father because it hits everyone. I mean, why
Mm-hmm.
in that moment just stop the issue. But like in RTT now, they say, well, you can actually treat PTSD, whatever, depression.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wants to say, no, there's a lot of depression and fear and stuff just with my cancer patients. I'm going to stay there and I'm going to add those sessions within my coaching program. So they'll be part of the package. And depending on the person, we'll
Mm-hmm.
do 1 to 3 sessions. But yeah, wow, this is very interesting. So that the red means more. It's not the sun. It's
So
because I go ahead.
yeah, the red. You mean the red versus the
Yeah.
black? Yeah. So the red is what we call the conscious mind. That's based on the actual time you were born. So at the time you were born, the sun was in gate 57, the earth
Right.
was in gate 51, and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And this is where you see all these little gates in black in your human design chart, right?
Oh,
And then on the left hand side, this is what we call like the subconscious mind. It's the it's the physical body basically, right? And
mhm.
that is based on 88 days before you were born. So and at that time, the sun was in gate 62, the earth was in gate 61. And when we put all these so these are these 64 gates, these 64 archetypal energies in the chart. You see here's one and here is 64. And then we have all the 64 numbers somewhere. And we kind of
Mhm.
you can take like a marker and then highlight them all. And what happens when two gates connect, like here, you have the 28 and the 38, they create what we call a channel. And then they activate the center. So when a center is activated or colored in or defined, that is an energy you're here to, almost like a radio station. That's your authentic self. Like you're sending this out into the world. That's who you are, right?
Mm.
And like for example, like you probably don't need much inspiration from the outside. You just have a lot because you have the head and ajna defined to the throat. You can literally talk for hours. There's like I could have you talk for 3 hours and you just have so much to say because you have these divine downloads like nonstop. And there are many people that don't have that at all, right? But you're meant to. Talking, speaking
Claro.
is super essential for you. And the other centers, like for example, here you have this gate 1 and gate 2. but you don't have the other one. So this is why this center here is white. And anything that is white, or we call it undefined in human design, you take on these energies from all around you, which we sometimes struggle with that, because this center, for example, is your identity center, and we can take on other people's identity very easily. And then we kind of lose who we are ourselves sometimes, right? But over time, we become wise, right? So that, like, for you, for example, if with this, I would tell you, for example, or recommend, like, if you walk into a room, if you go into a restaurant and you feel totally off, that's your permission to leave. Because you're very sensitive to your environment, and you can sense where you belong and where you don't belong, right? So you have to, it's essential for you to feel good where you're at, right? Yeah, and then also one thing that I want to share with you. So you're a projector, right? And as a projector, this center here, the sacral center, is undefined. It's like the sacral chakra. It's the center for the life workforce energy, where we work and do, and you have it undefined. What that means is that you have times where, because you can amplify this energy from all around you. And there are times where this energy is like super amplified, where you have a lot of energy and you could like plant 100 trees and get all the work done, But then it's kind of like the balloon pops. We take a needle, and then all of a sudden the energy goes down, and then you may need a longer period of time of rest. So the typical 9 to 5 work just is not good for that in any way or form. It's more like, when you do something, you can get something done very fast, very quickly, and then there needs to be these prolonged period times of rest. And I don't know, does it resonate with you?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm a sponge. I'm listening to you. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. And
Because sometimes I focus so much. I always see my end result.
Mhm.
I said people fail to plan; they don't plan to fail.
Yeah.
But in there, and that's probably what got me sick. And like I told you, I wanted to do it all and do it all good. And then, you don't rest. And so, but now that I was going through the RTT, signing more clients, the podcasts have been awesome because that's the only thing they've done. Yeah, and they started with people inviting in. But so the last 3 months until at the end of August, now that in September, I launched that, but I was working on my online course. I was working on the RTT, which there's a lot of clinical stuff and a lot to do. I mean, they really want you to know your stuff because you're representing them. And then the clients and the discovery sessions and the stuff that was coming from the podcast. And then I'm thinking, wow, I got to do the invoicing. I got to do this. And then next thing I know, I'm sitting at thank God for my 3.5 hours in the morning, because really I would probably not make it. But my wife, Mima, gets mad at me sometimes. Look, you've been there since 8:30. It's 2:00. Take a break.
Yeah.
And I don't do. I go to the bathroom. I drink water. So you telling me this makes sense. I really need to take more breaks. So then,
and also see, because I mean, I feel like right now you're really growing a lot, right? And even like when we spoke for the first time, I was like, wow, you're busy. And then I saw your chart, and see what you can delegate. Like, get very clear, what is your zone of genius that only Georges can do? Because you probably will know that. But things like invoicing, and that can be outsourced, you're going to do yourself a great service, and also the people that you impact, because your energy is limited, right? And it's not like you have less energy. It's just like allocated, very amplified, very strong. And then you need to retreat. You need to for an extended period of time. And the other thing, which is also, so you have the root defined to the spleen. The spleen is the center for health and well-being. And the root is the pressure center, the adrenaline, it's a stress center, right? And you need, and I think you do that from knowing you and your whole story, like you need physical activity on a daily basis.
Mhm.
That is
Yes,
that actually relaxes you, and like get
exactly.
out in the
That's
mountains.
yeah.
But if you
Same.
feel yourself doing something for work that starts to drain you, go get out, be physically active, and see how you can delegate those things. And
Yeah. You
yeah.
know, they told me one of this. Well, by the way, I'll be the only man in this summit speaking.
Oh, really? Here you go again. The woman, not you.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. But look,
Can the universe speak any louder, Georges?
you know, it's funny. You know, on top of all, I'll tell you, I was looking at always Instagram or whatever. We some days, sometimes 3 days that somebody DM me with something important, but I just couldn't do it all. So
Yeah.
I'm hiring. I just hired this lady, and we started tonight for me. 6:30. It's gonna be tomorrow in the Philippines. She'll do the digital marketing,
Nice.
and that same firm is finding me an assistant that
Right.
could do bookkeeping and stuff. Somebody told me this, George. You know you have to worry about yourself and your 6,000 clients, your book, your online course, the stuff that really is gonna make you wealthy. You're helping people, but and those are $6,000 things. These other things can be $10 an hour.
Yeah.
Leave the $10 an hour stuff for the people who can do it. I used to do that as a CTO, and I had to learn my. I
Mm.
I told Mima the other day that um, it was interesting because when I make the shift to go from CTO, I had 32 people under me
Wow.
and one director and two managers, and then project leads and the people that did the software and all that.
Mhm.
So I was delegating. It was a different thing. Obviously,
Mhm.
dealing budgets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I become a coach, and I'm cleaning my own my own office. I'm solo. So, but this is the time I kind of like planned it this way, and I'm thinking, well, now
Mhm.
I have enough to be promoted now, and there's a lot of people. 1 out of 2 women are getting sick with cancer, and 1 out of 3 men are getting sick
Mhm.
with cancer in the U.S. and Canada. Imagine only these 2 countries. More so here, though.
Mhm.
Almost 50% of our nation has 1 or 2 chronic diseases. So that tells you something.
Mhm.
Like you said, in your world, people are not slowing down. They're actually somehow, I don't know what they are on, but constant adrenaline
Mhm.
and working hard.
Yeah.
We gotta, it's gonna be amazing. But yeah, I would love to look at this, a little more. I'm not sure if are you still recording?
Yes. We're still
Oh,
recording,
okay. I'm
but
sorry.
it's for real life, right?
Yes, of course. No,
Yeah.
no,
We
as
can
long as we're
share the
helping
little.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I honestly I love it because I love when the episodes are the most relaxed and fun. So
Mhm.
yeah, we can. Let's chat about it when we when we hang up the call.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
yeah, I
Yes.
just wanted to share because yeah, just when you were talking, I was like, everything is just you, and you can see it there, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
a confirmation for us, and it can give us some very helpful
Inside. Yeah.
nuggets. Yeah, and things like you already know, but seeing this is just like making it even
Yeah.
easier for you to make the decision. Let me
Yeah.
delegate. I need to save my magic for other things, right?
Yeah. Because I'm
So
I'm visual. This really you captivated me. I say, oh my goodness, yeah, look at the sun.
yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll dive more into it. So, Georges, I want to really thank you, and I will put everything in the show notes, like how people can get in touch with you, your website, is Qualivita, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
quality of life. Yeah.
in Latin. I love that. And then LinkedIn, your website, on Instagram, and all of that good stuff. I can tell you guys, he is incredible. He's amazing. I've known you for many, many years. And I always end the episode with one question, which is like, what's one or the most important nugget of wisdom you want to leave the listeners with?
Well, the same. No one will believe in you until you believe in you.
Thank you. I had to hear that myself.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love that. Well, thank you for sharing your story, sharing your
Thank you for inviting.
wisdom. Yeah, and thank you for being open to human design. But that's why I asked you before the episode, because I always want to be careful not to, force it onto people, because like anything, we have to be open to it. But
Yeah,
I lit up when we talked about it.
yeah, no, that's I see. I feel that, and the moment that we have the attitude that we know it all, that's when we start dying. That's when we start walking back. We have to learn and keep learning. And this stuff, when I saw that chart, you need to explain me some more.
Okay. I love it. Perfect. Again, Georges, thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for being here with us, taking on all this wisdom. And I'm super excited to be with you all on the next episodes.